I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 2 English lessons on prefixes and suffixes. And before we start with our lesson, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 2, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of prefixes and suffixes. All right, so in our previous lesson, we also did prefixes and suffixes, but we specifically focused on prefixes, right? So we focused on prefixes and we specifically focused on the prefixes with re, pre, and mis. So today we will be doing basically suffixes, right? And our chapter is going to be prefixes and suffixes. Our subject is going to be English language arts. Grade 2. And the lessons that we are focusing on today is going to be to determine the meaning of the word with full or less, and prefixes and suffixes. Right? So basically, a suffix can be added to the end of a word and it changes the meaning of the word. We said a prefix is a word that can be added at the beginning or to the beginning of a root word or a base word which can basically stand on its own. So the suffix, once again, can be added to the end of a word, right? And it basically changes the meaning of the word. Sorry. So today we'll basically be focusing on the suffixes and the meanings of full as well as less or less, right? So the suffix full, it means full of. So the suffix full, it means full of. So it can be full of something, right? And if we look at the word colorful, right? Colorful. So if our suffix full means full of, then it means that colorful means full of color. And then we also have the suffix, which is less or less, right? And the suffix less or less means without. Like less means without. So if we again look at the word colorless, then it means that it is without color. So colorless means without color, right? So it seems as if full of the suffix full and the suffix less is it's basically like opposite to one another, right? So it's opposite to one another because full means full of something and less means without that specific thing, right? All right. So a base word, right, is, for example, if we look at the word color, right? So color is a base word because color is a word that can stand on its own. So this is a base word. So color is a base word, or another word for a base word, we call it a root word, right? So color is a base word. And then we have our suffix, which is, for example, full. And then it means we just add our word to, we add the suffix to our base word. Now it changes the meaning of the word, right? Because color, right? You know, we know that color is a combination of different colors, right? But now, if we add full to our word color, then it changes the meaning of our word. Now it just means it is full of color. And if we, for example, add less to our word color, then it means basically without color, right? So the word color is our base word. The base word is a word that can stand on its own without a prefix a and without a suffix, right? For example, if we look at the word sleep, right? Sleep is a word that can stand on its own. But now, as soon as we add the word less to it, right, then it becomes sleepless, right? Because the word sleep means that you are peaceful, you're getting enough, resting. But as soon as we add the word less to it, then it means that it is without sleep, meaning that you're not getting the rest, you're not sleeping, right? So this word sleep is a word that can stand on its own, and we call that a base word. So now we add our suffix to that base word, and it changes the meaning of the word. All right, no problem. So basically, most times, like if you look at the word full currently, right? It might seem as if it's a word that is on its own, but full is not a word on its own. The same with this word list, it's not a word on its own. So prefixes and suffixes are words that cannot stand on its own, right? So they need basically a base word, a word like color or sleep or bone or joy. in order to latch on to that specific word in order to create a new meaning of the word. Yes, the base word is the same as a root word. You can either call it a root word or you can call it a base word. Right? So base word is basically the same as saying a root word. You can actually choose which one that you want to make mention of. I think the higher you go to a specific grade, they will start talking about the root word, but for now they're just talking about the base word. So base, it's almost like foundation that can stand on its own. Right? So full means full of, and the suffix less or less means without. So if we look at these words or these questions, right, it says, what does sleepless mean? Sleepless. So what does sleepless mean based on our suffixes that we see over here? Here we said the suffix full means full of, and the suffix less means without. So now here it says, what does sleepless mean? Does it mean it's full of sleep or without sleep? All right, so if we look at the word sleepless, then we can say sleepless is without sleep. So sleepless is without sleep, meaning that you're not getting enough sleep, right? That is sleepless. Like if you are tossing and turning and for some reason you cannot fall asleep, that is sleepless. Like somebody would say, I'm having sleepless nights. And then if we look at the word joyful, what does joyful mean? All right, and if we look at the word joyful, right, based on our suffix full means full of, and it means a joyful means I am full of joy. Full of joy. That is joyful. It's being full of joy. You are overexcited. You are happy. That is joyful. And then we have boneless. Boneless. What do you think boneless mean based on our meaning of our suffix? Boneless. All right, so boneless means without bone. It's like saying I'm going to buy boneless chicken, right? Boneless fish, fish without the bone, chicken without the bones, right? That is boneless, right? So less means without, and full means full of. And if we look at these words, right, these are adjectives or suffixes with the word full and with the word less, right? So with the word full and with the word less. The words in green, right, they are full, right, which means full of. And then the words with, like in pink, it's words with less, right, which means without. For example, careful, right? Careful. It's like somebody telling you, be careful, right? Then we have harmful. Then we have harmful. Painful, meaning I am in pain. I am full of pain, right? That is painful. Thoughtful. You're overthinking, full of thoughts, full of ideas. Fearful and colorful, right? Then we have less, right? Careless is the opposite of careful. So careful is a positive word, but careless is a negative word. Careless is a bad word because careless means that you don't care. It's without the care in the world. Then we have harmless, right? And then we have painless. Like it's like if you knocked your knee or knocked your toe, like as much as you're cringing in pain, but you're like, that wasn't painful, right? And then thoughtless without thought, fearless without fear, and colorless without color, right? So we are doing our tutorial lessons on aplusstudents.ca. So now we're going to aplusstudents.ca. And we're going to determine the meaning of the word full, and we're going to determine the meaning of the word less. All right. So we said that full means full of, and we said less or less means without, right? I'm sorry. So what does thankful mean? Thankful. If you are thankful about something, what is the meaning? What's the meaning? Thankful. And the word thankful means that we are full of thanks, right? Fearful, we are full of fear, right? I am so fearful. And then we said colorful means we are full of color, lots of color, right? Now we're going to our test. Oopsie. So what does soundless mean? If something is soundless. Soundless, is it full of sound or without sound? This is now soundless. So is it full of sound or without sound? All right. So if we were to determine the meaning of the word full or less, we would say soundless means without sound, right? What is useful? Useful is without uses or full of uses. So useful. Remember full. Remember the word full. The suffix full means full of, and the suffix less means without. So the word less means without, and the word full means full of. So which means that we have the word full with our word use. So useful. Is it full of uses or without uses? All right. And if we choose the correct one, we can say useful means that it is full of uses. Full of uses. Right? So full of uses because full means full of and less means without. So moonless, moonless. Is it full of moons or without a moon? Moonless. So is it full of moons or without a moon? All right. And if we choose the word moonless, all right, so we have moonless. So which means that if it is less, moonless, then it is without a moon. Yes, so well done. Without a moon. What does colorful mean? Colorful. So colorful, right? Is it without color or is it full of color? And if we choose the correct one, we can say colorful is full of color, right? All right. What does paperless mean? Paperless. Like paperless. Is it number one, it's without paper, or number two, there's full of paper? All right, so paperless means without paper. So paperless without paper. And then we have careful. We have careful. All right, so what does careful mean? Careful. Is it full of care? Is it without care? All right, so careful. Careful. So careful, right? It means that you are full of care. It's like you're always caring, like you have it's like an overflow of caringness, right? All right. So useless. Useless. And the word useless means without less, without uses. All right. So what does thankful mean? The last one. When you're thankful and you're grateful, then we can say we are full of thanks, full of gratitude, right? Full of thanks. Right? So we said that we have the prefix, the suffix of full, which means it is full of, as well as the suffix less or less, which means All right. So we need to determine the meaning of the word full or less. We said full is full of, less means without. Yes, so full of care. That is correct. All right. So if we look at our activity over here, right? We have the word thankful. And the word thankful means it is full of thanks. And of course, that is based on what our suffix is, or the meaning of our suffix is. It's full of thanks. And now, if we look at the word loveless, what does loveless mean? Loveless. Loveless. What does it mean? Get the meanings of the word full and look at the meanings of the word less. So loveless basically means it is without love, right? No action of love. That is what it means. It is without love, or there's no action of love. Right, so now let's go to our test. What does soundless mean? Soundless. Something is soundless. What does it mean? Soundless. Is soundless full of sound, or is soundless without sound? So full of sound or without sound? Soundless. All right, and if we choose the correct one, then we will say soundless means without sound. So soundless means without sound, right? And then we have the word useful. Useful. Is it without uses or full of uses? So useful, is it without uses or full of uses? All right, so if we choose the correct one, which is useful, then the meaning of useful, right? The meaning of useful it means full of uses, right? It's full of uses because the word full basically means full of. All right. Now we need to say, what does moonless mean? Moonless. I think we did this already. Moonless. And we said it is without moon. All right. So now we're going to just do a brief review over the prefixes as well as the suffixes that we have done. Remember last time in our previous lesson we did prefixes, and we specifically had to determine the meaning of the word pre, re, and miss. And then today it is suffixes, right? And we have to determine the meanings of the word full and less. Sorry. So now, if we look again at prefixes and suffixes, right? Prefixes, we said we can add at the beginning of a base word. And remember, we said a base word is a word that can stand on its own, whether with or without a prefix or suffix. And then prefix we add at the beginning of a base word, right? And some of our prefixes are miss, pre, and re. Re means again, pre means before, and miss means, I think it's got a negative comment on what miss is. Right? And then we have our suffix, and we said a suffix can be added to the end of a base word. And remember, we said a base word is a word that can stand on its own. So some suffixes are full and less, and both the prefixes as well as the suffixes, right? They change the meaning of a base word, right? Now we're going to our test, right? We're going to our test. We need to say what retie mean. Retie. Retie. What does retie mean? Retie means again, right? So does it mean it's to tie again? Or does it mean to tie incorrectly? Retie. All right. So what does retie mean? Retie means that I need to tie the thing again. Right? Retie means to tie it again. So well done. Retie it is. Then we have nameless. 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 So since you got your new puppy, my puppy doesn't have a name yet, which means that the puppy is nameless. All right, so nameless. So nameless. And nameless mean, right? And nameless mean without a name. All right, so nameless. Made an example of if you have a puppy for some time and the puppy don't have a name, right? Then we can say your puppy is nameless. All right, and we said nameless is without a name. So well done. All right, so now if we say pre-make, and that means to make before, because pre means before. All right. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on basically suffixes with the word full as well as the word less, right? Thank you very much, grade 2, for joining our class and for interacting. And I really hope that you are going to have a good weekend further. All right. All right. So this is now the end of our lesson on prefixes and suffixes, right? We had to determine the meanings of the word full and less. Full means full of, less means without, right? And we said a suffix or a prefix. A prefix is a word that is added to the beginning of a base word, and a suffix is a word that ends at the end of a base word. All right. So we can once again say We had our suffixes, which is full of, and less, which is without. So full of and without. All right, so that is the end of our lessons, grade 2. Thank you very much for joining our class, and I really hope you're going to have a good weekend further. Goodbye. All right, so that is the end of our lesson. Goodbye.